Hello, everybody. Welcome to the world's greatest Bronze Age comic book podcast, Flea Market Fantasy. I'm your co-host, Mike L., and as always, I'm joined by...
Michael Dell of the LCS Hockey Radio Show.
Woo, that's right. And I know Mike Dell likes to tie things into movies, so picked another movie tie-in this week, right?
Yeah, I guess it's a little... I missed it by several months, I think, but I wanted to pick something with Black Widow. Yeah, the Black Widow. Now, did you see the Black Widow movie, Michael?
Yes, I did.
I did not.
Really?
But I know our buddy Kevin Jank told me that he did not enjoy it that much, and he said they ruined Taskmaster.
Well, do you know what the twist is with Taskmaster?
Well, it's a lady.
Yeah, and there's a little bit more of a twist, but yeah, it's a different
she doesn't
character.
Talk.
Yeah, there's another twist, but I won't give it away. But
these are all terrible decisions, though.
I mean, to be honest, it was one of those movies where I enjoyed it when I was watching it, but the more I thought about it, the more I realized it wasn't that good. However, Florence Pugh is another story, okay?
Yeah, she's just going to be taking over the Black Widow reigns, right? Like, she's going to be in that Hawkeye show. And
exactly. And you know what's funny? I had her first appearance, bought it off the shelf in, like, 1999, sold it for $1. So I'm sure it's worth a lot of money now, but...
Wait. Whose first appearance?
Florence Pugh, she plays another Black Widow who appeared in the comics. Yeah, Marvel Knights Black Widow #1 or something from like 1999. Okay. Yeah.
So is that book now worth money because of this?
Well, I mean, I haven't confirmed that, but I'm sure it will be, right? Yeah. I don't know.
I doubt it. I don't know.
Okay.
do current comic books go up in value, really? Or is that just like a...
Well, current 20 years ago.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I don't know. We're old, Michael. We're very old. So anyway, I wanted to get something with the Black Widow, and we did the Champions once, and Black Widow was a part of that, but she was just a minor part of that. So I wanted something to focus on Black Widow. And she kind of, well, let me give you some background on the Black Widow here. Well, I guess I should just tell you what I picked. Marvel Fanfare issue 10 from 1983. Now, we've never discussed Marvel Fanfare on this show. So
True.
That's why I wanted to go with Marvel Fanfare. But before we get into that, some real quick Black Widow stuff. Of course, her name is Natasha Romanoff. Although, Mike, when I was doing the research, it seems like nowadays they're calling her Romanova as her last name, which makes... I don't like that at all.
Well, is this based on the research done by Peter Sanderson for the Marvel Universe Handbook?
This is done by Wikipedia. And... But like everywhere else, it's Natasha Romanoff with 2 Fs. Like
yes.
In this comic book, it's Natasha Romanoff with 2 Fs, and all along, it's always been Natasha Romanoff with 2 Fs. Even like when they're referring to the Scarlett Johansson Black Widow, that's how they spell it. But for some reason, now it's Romanova in like recent comic book times. So I don't know what happened.
Well, I'll tell you one thing I just learned today. Romanoff with 2 Fs is apparently an older translation of, Russian. With 1 V is a more current translation. But I believe through research, what Peter Sanderson discovered is that
First of all, who in the blue hell is Peter Sanderson? Why do you keep saying this guy?
Because he's my friend on Facebook. But he also used to be a writer for Marvel. Like, he co-wrote the entire Marvel Universe Handbook.
The 1989 one?
No, like 84, 85, those ones.
84, 85. Oh, so that's even...
Yeah.
Because I think the one I remember from childhood was 89, right?
There was an 89 update, but that was not the main one. The main one was like 83, 84, and then there was a deluxe edition in 85, 86, and then update 89 was with all the new characters. Oh,
the covers were like white backgrounds and everyone, like a bunch of characters standing on the cover and stuff?
See, yeah, you're thinking of the update 89, but if you go back to 83, 84, 85, there was like a 12 issue, then a 15 issue, or 18, 20 issue, thing of all the characters, and it's like essential reading. Everyone's got to read it.
I've never read it.
I've got the whole series. I've read it practically cover to cover. I also have Who's Who numbers 1 to I think 26 cover to cover. Read the whole thing.
So what did this guy say? What did he say about Black Widow?
here's what I know, okay? I'm half Ukrainian, and I know that in Ukrainian, last names are masculine and feminine. So, for example, my grandfather's last name was Oganovsky. My grandmother's last name was Oganovska. So what I'm assuming is Romanova is the feminine form of her last name, and that's why they're calling her that now. But
okay.
Yeah, but I could. My friend's Russian. I should ask him.
I used to date a Russian lady, and her last name was Gorbanikova.
Ooh, there you go.
And I learned a lot about the Russians. But all right, so basically, it's just that they decided to like update the spelling,
right,
and then make it like more officially Russian than Stan Lee, who had no idea about Russian and just put 2 F's at the end of it.
Exactly.
All right, that makes sense. Because Black Widow, her first appearance was Tales of Suspense, issue 52, 1964. And this issue we're reading today, they kind of go over her backstory, so we won't have to worry about all that. But she was created by Stan Lee, Don Heck, and Don Rico.
Don Rico? Never heard of him.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, can you tell me something about Don Rico?
Nothing.
All right, fair enough. So yeah, there's the Black Widow. So if we wanted to start, again, she started in 1964. Then after that, she bounced around in the Avengers throughout the 60s. And then I think in 1970 or 71, she made an appearance in The Amazing Spider-Man. And she debuted her new costume, the old black bodysuit. Like the Emma Peel look. And now, have you ever read that book, Michael?
Actually, I don't think so, no.
Yeah, I don't recall ever reading it either. And I did read a bunch of old Amazing Spider-Man, but I did go back and read it. And she gets her new costume, and she tries to tangle with Spider-Man just to see if she still got it, because I guess she wanted to test her skills. But Spider-Man had like a really bad flu. How often does Spider-Man get a flu? Because it seems like that happened a lot back in the day. Like he was always sick.
Flu.
Yes,
yep.
He was always sick. That poor fellow. So she was able to take him down because he had a really bad flu. So, anyway,
love it.
So, but after that spun her off into Amazing Adventures, where she had like an 8-issue run in split books with the Inhumans, and that was like in the early 70s. And then after that, she joined up in the Avengers again, right? She became like a regular. Oh, Daredevil. She was a regular in Daredevil. They actually changed the title of the book, Daredevil and the Black Widow, for like about a 20-issue run there, right?
Yes, that's true. Yep.
Yeah. And I think that was your beloved Jerry Conway that did that.
Hope so, yeah. If so, I'll go back and read it.
If I'm remembering correctly, I think that was him. But today, Marvel Fanfare, here in 1983, she had a 4-issue little story arc here from issues 10 through 13. And this was written and drawn, well, not written. I think he had something to do with the plotting. But the writer here is Ralph Macchio. And
yes,
we'll talk about that later. But the artist is George Pérez, which is weird.
Yes, but also someone else.
Well, you want the inker you're talking about here?
No, because
yeah, correct. Yeah, it's like kind of a split story. There's a chapter 1 and chapter 2, and in chapter 2 it's Bob Layton.
Right.
Bob Layton.
Very weird, strange.
Yeah, I can't remember. I was trying to read up on this. Now, this was called for Marvel Fanfare, let's talk a little bit about that first, because this ran from 1982 to 1991. It was published bi-monthly, so it ran 60 issues. And the key thing here for Marvel Fanfare, it was kind of like for the one percenters, the people who really liked comic books, who were really into like high-class stuff. That was like a comic book fan's comic book. So you had to pay double. Like it started out at $1.25 when the other comics were like 60 cents. But there were no ads. And it was on nicer paper. And it tried to highlight upcoming, like young talent or established really good talent. You know, try to give you the best of the best. And so did you read a lot of Marvel Fanfare?
I actually have a handful, yes. And here's the thing is that, you know, there are some issues of Marvel Fanfare that are absolutely classic on their own. Like there's a famous Barry Windsor Smith story with The Thing. There's an issue. I got
to tell you, the art there is great. Because I went back and because someone said you won't believe the twist or the ending, you won't see it coming. The story itself is pretty stupid. It's not. There's no big twist there at the end.
It's the art. It's the art.
Yeah, the art's great. Yeah, but the story is not so good.
There's also, I think, number 47 is the one by Michael Golden. It's the Hulk and Spider-Man team up.
I did not read that one.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, the story's pretty good, but the art by Michael Golden is just mind-blowing. I recommend you read that one. But it's one of those things where, to me, that's what Marvel Fanfare should be for, because, like single issue weird stories like that don't really fit in anywhere. However, this Black Widow thing, which we'll talk about later, if this came out today, it would just be a mini-series. There'd be no reason to kind of bury it in this ongoing series, right? Because you never know if someone's going to read it or not, right? Because to me, you want to give it as much attention as possible, so you'd give it its own series, but...
Well, this Black Widow, sometimes they would, I guess when they're hurt, because these issues of Marvel Fanfare, they typically had at least 2 stories in them.
Right.
Like, and a backup story. So when they were hurt for material, they used what they call inventory stories.
Right.
And this is what this Black Widow was. They just had this lying around.
Okay.
And I guess, I don't know what, I was trying to find out if, I'm guessing they originally planned it to be a miniseries, like a limited series, and then it just never got into production. So he was just lying around. So the editor here is Al Milgrom. Marvel Fanfare is his baby. Like, it was his idea, and he shaped everything. So, so they did use some inventory stuff, and this Black Widow story is an example of that. Another famous Marvel Fanfare, like the first 4 or 5 issues, it's Angel and Spider-Man in the Savage Land.
Oh,
and
yes.
And then the X-Men come down. And your buddy Michael Golden drew the cover for issue 1, a very famous cover.
And the interiors as well.
Yes. And here's my question for you, Michael, because just last night I was looking back through those issues, because I had never read Marvel Fanfare, but when I was going through those the Savage Land stuff, I'm like, oh, I recognize this art, like this interior art. I know these panels. I have read this before. So it had to have been reprinted in something with X-Men, but do you know what that would have been? Like, I can't think what it would have been.
No, but if I go back, because I'm on MarvelFandom.com, they will probably tell me at the bottom.
I don't think they do.
It tells me nothing. Okay.
Yeah, because I looked at that last night. But yeah, I know, because I recognize many of these panels. I'm like, oh yeah, I know this story, so I've had to have read it, but I never read Marvel Fanfare, so I don't know where I read it.
Maybe it was like Marvel or X-Men Rarities or something like that.
Yeah, it had to be some sort of X-Men thing. But I don't know what, because I love the X-Men. But anyway, so yeah, Marvel Fanfare, there's some interesting stuff going on there with the creative teams and whatnot. And then one of the reasons they were able to get the big talent was they were able to offer 50% more than the average rate for a normal comic book. So if you drew Marvel Fanfare, you got a bump in pay of 50%. That's pretty good.
Really?
Right? Yeah. But Al Milgrom said one of the reasons eventually the series ended, of course, sales were okay, not great or anything, but they were having trouble getting all this good talent to, because usually the good talent's already working on series, and to pluck them away to do an extra issue of Marvel Fanfare, even though you're paying more, the other editors weren't fans of that. And then eventually Marvel changed their pay scale, so they were able to give freelancers. They did something, Mike, I don't know if you know this, but they did something if they were working on better series, they got, I don't know, copies sold or something. So there was a way for freelancers to suddenly make more money just doing normal stuff than doing Marvel Fanfare.
I think it was Jim Shooter who might have started that, where if it sold over 100,000 copies, then royalties kicked in and you made percentages on each copy. So obviously, if you were drawing X-Men, you'd make the most, right? And then down from there.
Yeah. So the one big attraction that Marvel Fanfare had was it paid creators more, but now because of that, they weren't paying creators more, so fewer people wanted to do it. There's a volume 2 of Marvel Fanfare in 1996. I did not know this.
Yes, I have a few issues.
It only lasted 6, so you might have the entire run if you have a few. But the difference was, I think this is pretty cool. Instead of it was published monthly. The original one was published bi-monthly. And instead of using fancy paper, it used cheap paper. And instead of costing twice as much, it cost half as much.
Yes.
I think that's pretty awesome. They did the old switcheroo. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they were 99 cents each in a world of $2 comic books.
Well, I can
any
just
other?
say,
Oh, go
I was
ahead.
gonna say quickly. I had number 2 and 3. I just looking at them now. I had number 2 and 3, and number
2
2
and
was the
3.
Hulk and Wolverine with art by a guy named Pop Man,
Very good.
and the number 3 was Spider-Man with art by Pop Man. I'll tell you, this Pop Man guy is a great artist.
Really?
Yeah, he's really like if you like exaggerated art, yes, he's very good. And just so if you're wondering about his name, I believe he's Asian. It's Pop, P-O-P, and then Mhan. So it's not just like a made up name.
Yeah, I was going to tell you because it sounded a little made up. Yet you've never encountered him elsewhere in your comic book travels?
I don't think so. No.
Huh. I'll have to look into it. I do remember looking at some of the covers. I think like it was like Power Man. Well, you only have the 2 issues, but I think like Power Man and Iron Fist are like issue 6, and I think Long Shot is issues 5 and 4. I think so.
Yeah, I was just looking at it. Yeah, let me click back here. Yeah, the Long Shot one. I think there's something significant about that one. About his. Let me just glance at it. No, there's nothing. Okay, forget it.
I have no idea. But all right, so that's your Marvel Fanfare background. Do they have any titles like this nowadays? Probably not, huh?
As far as I know, anthologies do not sell at all, unless it's like a Batman anthology or something. But like just a regular comic that has a different character, never.
Batman anthology, right?
It sells.
At the Mike Ale household.
Well, if you
buy
say
all the
so,
copies.
okay.
Batman, who's heard of him?
Exactly.
Nobody.
But let me just say, there's definitely good issues. If you dig through Marvel Fanfare, you're gonna find some gems for sure. But anyway.
Yeah, happy digging. 60 issues. Good luck.
All right, I've done it anyway.
You might find 1 or 2. All right, so let's get to the book. Marvel Fanfare issue 10. Notice, Mike, this is $1.50, so they've already jacked up the price 25 cents.
Woo! Yep.
So.
And then Canadian $1.75.
Fuck you, Canada. Yeah. And how do you feel about like it has an interesting title there, Marvel Fanfare? It's kind of like how would you describe that, Michael?
Yeah, what is that? I don't know what that's called, but it's like oh geez, Jolie would know this.
Yeah, I can't think of the right term.
I don't want to say diamond, but it's kind of like it looks like it's
three-dimensional.
Yeah, three-dimensional, but like it has like a I don't know. I can't describe it.
Yeah, I think diamond and three-dimensional. That sounds good to me. But yeah, so it's just Marvel Fanfare, and it's like in red and white.
And this is a good cover. It's a classic cover. There's none of the, I know you said you like dialogue and blurbs, but there's none of that
the old
here.
days. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
That's
just
a new
Marvel
era
Fanfare.
here. So, yeah.
And it's all black, and there's a spider's web, and there's a shot of Black Widow on the cover. George Pérez. Now I know this story is from 83, but the story's older, but this art by Pérez looks newer, so he probably drew it like a couple years after he drew the story, I'm assuming. But anyway, it's a really good shot of Black Widow standing there with her hand towards the window with one of her wrist blasters pointed at you. And there's a goon she's holding behind her whose like face is all on fire, and she's just standing there like she just defeated him. And that's the cover.
Yeah, I like the idea of the cover. Black Widow standing there like that with her little wrist blaster pointed at the camera, but the actual art here by Pérez not so good. I don't know the Black Widow figure not so good. It's like cartoony and disproportionate, and look at her legs compared to her head, and it's just it's a mess.
Are you a George Pérez fan?
Normally I am. Like, remember, I loved his stuff on that Justice League issue we did, and I loved his Teen Titans stuff. I like, but this, like, it's just anatomically and proportions are way off, and not so good.
Well,
it looks kind of like a high school kid drew this, actually. If you want my real take on this.
Well, the thing is his proportions are never really correct. Like, he taught himself to draw. Like, he's not really, to be honest, I love his art, but he's not really a great artist at anatomy, for sure.
Yeah, this is, you could take another swing here at this one. But I'm not a fan of this Black Widow. But there you go. All right, so next we open up the book. We get editorial Al. So each issue, Al Milgrom, there'd be a little comic strip with Al Milgrom as the star. And I don't know who drew this, Michael. Does Al Milgrom draw these? Or
Al
who drew
Milgrom, yes, he's also an artist. Yeah. He wrote and drew the Hulk. He wrote and drew a few other things as well.
And didn't he also do Your Beloved Secret Wars 2? I think.
Oh, yes. That was the end of his career. But anyway.
So why don't you tell the kids what's going on here in his little comic strip?
So basically, so Al Milgrom would always have a little comic strip at the beginning, kind of like it was always a joke about what the issue was usually. And this one is a joke about how he's so busy that he's, falling asleep at his desk. And so behind his back, it's supposed to be Jim Shooter and I don't know who else.
Our beloved Innocenti.
Oh, Innocenti. Yes.
I believe so, yeah.
Whom we all love. And they're talking about how overworked he is and what they're going to do about it and blah, blah, blah. So then they decide, okay, well, we're going to give away all of his books to other editors. And each panel is exactly the same. It's just him sleeping, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And they're like, okay, well, we'll give the Defenders to someone else. And they're kind of giving them away off panel.
Carl Potts. Carl Potts is the guy coming in, yeah.
There you go. Defenders, and he's still sleeping. Doctor Strange, still sleeping. The Hulk, Fantastic Four, The Thing. And last but not least, here's Marvel Fanfare. What? He wakes up. What's that? Hands off that book. So yeah, Marvel Fanfare is his baby. That's the implication, right?
Al Milgrom. And at the end of the book, we get a little letter from Jim Shooter saying what a nice guy Al Milgrom is and how a great guy he is. And he's actually, they're actually doing what that little comic strip depicts. They're giving his books to Carl Potts and other editors because Al Milgrom was going to go back to being a creator.
Right.
So he was only going to keep editing Marvel Fanfare. The way that they described it was instead of working as an editor all day and trying to be a creator at night, he was going to be a creator during the day and like moonlight as an editor just on Marvel Fanfare, and it would give him more time. So yeah,
one quick side note: did I ever tell you what happened to Al Milgrom? How his career ended?
I don't know.
Okay, quick story. So he worked at Marvel throughout the 80s and 90s, and then when Bill Jemas became the president of Marvel in the late 90s, he fired, what's his name? Bob Harris. Remember Bob Harris, the editor of X-Men?
I do remember Bob Harris, yes.
Yeah. So Bill Jemas fired Bob Harris. And Al Milgrom was still working at Marvel at the time, and I believe he was an inker. And in a random issue of some comic, I don't know what, Silver Surfer, Hulk or something, he snuck in a subliminal message.
Did he, like in a bookshelf or something? Or like in the books?
Yeah, he put something like good riddance to Bob Harris. He was a rotten SOB or something like that.
He was taking a shot at Bob Harris, not the guy who fired Bob Harris.
No, Bob Harris. And so he got caught and he got fired and blacklisted basically.
Really?
Yeah. But I'm on his side. So
I thought
Bob Harris is an asshole. Anyway.
I thought he'd get fired for like taking a shot at the suit, but no, he took a shot at the guy who got fired, and then they still fired. Huh?
No.
Interesting.
Anyway,
how about that? I do remember hearing that story, but I lost the details there. But yeah, how about that? Al Milgrom being a rebel.
Al Milgrom. I actually met him at a convention, but I did not interview him. But he seemed like a nice guy.
Did he go to DC after that, or?
Actually, no. I think he was kind of like, blacklisted. No one would hire him.
Really? For putting a joke in the ink?
Can you believe that for that one little thing? Yep.
It's a little ridiculous.
Canceled.
All right. Yeah.
Anyway.
So here we go. Widow is the title of this book. Widow. And like I said, this is the first part of a 4-part story.
Right. And did we mention Brett Breeding? We did.
He's the inker here for the first part. And now, have we done Brett Breeding before?
I don't think so.
Because I got to tell you, not a good match with Pérez.
Well, here's the thing. Brett Breeding is he's a decent inker. He did Spider-Man and Superman. He's fine. But I find with George Pérez, there's maybe like 3 people on Earth that know how to ink him.
Yeah, who's his regular inker? Like, if you think of George Pérez, who do you think of as his inker?
Well,
do any names come to mind?
One of them's Carl Kiesel, or Kessel.
Okay.
But then, like, Dick Giordano is one.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
Yeah, who matches him perfectly. Yes. Jerry Ordway did a good job for Crisis, but the problem is that it just looks like Jerry Ordway art. And so I feel like George Perez, I mean, the best thing is for him to ink himself, right? That's when he's at his best. Because so much of his art depends on his line work. But, like, if you look at this, it still looks really good. Like, this opening splash page is great.
I think it's terrible. Like no, it's not terrible. The Widow, the face, the profile face of Black Widow is awful. The rest is fine.
But the idea, the design is cool.
Yeah, okay, but it looks terrible.
But anyway. But here's
terrible.
the thing. When you go through the rest, and we'll talk about this, yeah, it's like, I can tell it's George Perez because of the layouts and the storytelling, but it doesn't have that Perez, what's the word I'm looking for?
Yeah, there's only
Feeling.
a few panels that look like Perez to me, and then
Right.
like you can tell it's Perez by the panel designs, like you say, a lot of panels and stuff. But yeah, this would be my least favorite George Perez art I've ever seen.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean, because when he took over Superman in '89, he had Brett Breeding inking him, and it looked kind of like this, and I didn't like it.
Yeah.
It just doesn't, yeah, you're right, he's not suited to him.
Nope.
But anyway, so we have this shitty splash page. Blackwood.
I just don't. You just look at that profile of her. That doesn't. What? That's crazy.
That's not a great. So
No.
just so the listeners know, there's a huge close-up side profile of Natasha, all in red, kind of, and then behind her is this like shot of Nick Fury walking down a super high-tech hallway, and there's all this, Kirby technology on the walls and doohickeys and stuff, and then Nick Fury's walking, and the light from the doorway's coming and casting this long shadow behind him. And he's walking and kind of thinking at the same time, and he's complaining about how this new guy who works at S.H.I.E.L.D. is acting like he's in charge and blah, blah, blah. So then he walks in, and what's this guy's name here?
That's Happy Sawyer. Remember his old buddy Hap Sawyer when we read the Sergeant Fury and his Howling Commandos?
Kind of. Guess not. Okay.
You son of a bitch.
Yes, so that's him. So anyway, so he's basically, so Nick Fury is basically upset because they've hired Natasha Romanoff to do this mission.
They want to hire her, yeah.
They want to hire her, right? And he's like, now let's get down to cases. I ain't happy that you're deciding to use Natasha Romanoff on this mission, period. And then the guy's like, you're being ornery, Nick, not to mention a chauvinist. She's probably the finest spy in the entire world. And he's like, oh, really? So then they cut away, and we get this other scene that is seemingly unconnected, but we'll find out why later, why it is connected. And then we see this, this is more Perez-y. Like, I love this page here. These really skinny panels loaded with like, action and things going on. So we see this cityscape, a helicopter flying down. These three guys fly out wearing like suits with like jetpacks and stuff, and they're communicating to each other over like radios. And I love their dialogue because it's so funny, because you'd think that it's almost like a SWAT team. They should already know their mission going in, but they're like, quietly, she must suspect nothing. Like, as if they didn't already talk about that. You know what I mean?
That's Ralph Macchio.
Exactly.
His writing here is brutal. Just terrible.
So then, and then look at this. I love this super skinny panel of the hand pushing open the door, and like her behind the shower, like the bathroom door. I love that.
Yeah, of course, because whenever there's a female superhero, you always got to see them taking a shower. It's just the way it is.
Of course.
It's just the way it is. And I like everything about that page except for Natasha's face in the bottom right-hand corner. That panel, that is not the face there is screwed up. Too narrow, too thin.
It's funny because, again, she should be thinking very quickly, but thankfully she narrates everything she's going to do for us.
Yes.
So she sees the guys.
That's the sign of terrible comic book writing, when the writer narrates the action. And Ralph Macchio does that endlessly.
Yes. She's like, if I can just distract them with the mirror while I make a dive for, and then she throws the mirror, and it breaks one of the guy's helmets. Then she's like, the lights, and this is probably the worst part of the comic. Remember, these are like above SWAT team, above SEAL, they're above everything.
Yeah, they're S.H.I.E.L.D. agents.
Right.
They're top secret S.H.I.E.L.D. agents.
Hold it. Something just ran oof! Something. What could it be? Could it be the cat? Well, someone turn on the lights. These are all black panels, by the way. Maintain positions and switch to infrared. Ugh! Will someone please turn on the lights? Visual scanners reveal no signs of the... Someone turn on the blasted lights! So finally, someone turns on the lights. All exits still guarded. She's in here somewhere. Look, over there. Something moved by this door a moment ago. I'm entering. What could it be, Mike Dell? What do you think? Could it be... I don't know.
Monkey? Is it a monkey?
Maybe a monkey. Maybe Beppo the super monkey.
Oh, I wish. That'd be awesome.
So then they're like, that sound from the bedroom. The target must have been intercepted. The door's opening. He's coming up. No, it isn't him. It's the Black Widow. Is not accustomed to having her baths interrupted. So now we see Natasha in full Black Widow gear. So she had time to put on her costume. And she's carrying one of the S.H.I.E.L.D. guys out with her, and his face is all like basically on fire, kind of. Or it's got like Kirby crackle and fire coming out of it.
Yeah, kind of like the cover, except her hair is still wet, and this is a full page panel, big old splash, and she's coming right at the camera out of the bathroom, but she's a big meaty woman here, big.
Yeah, which is fun.
She looks like the She-Hulk. She does not look like Black Widow here. Yeah,
right.
Like she's very muscular, enormous thighs and a enormous rack, and she looks like She-Hulk, not.
Right.
Black Widow. And it'd be fine if this is how he's drawing her through everything, but this is the only panel she looks like this. Everywhere else she's, normal. Here she's super Black Widow. I don't know. Not a fan.
So, then we cut back to Nick Fury. And he's still talking to these guys, and this is where we get the flashback to her origin. And you know what's funny? I don't think I knew this origin. I
did not either. I did not know any of this, really. And because, I don't know, it seems like in the movies, it's just she was in an orphanage and raised by spies to be a killer, right? Like to be like, she was raised as a child to be an assassin in some secret military program now. Isn't that what they said in the movies?
Basically, yes.
Yeah. So this is kind of
completely
different.
So basically we find out there's a guy named Ivan Petrovich. This is in World War II. Stalingrad is sieged. He's got a sister. Oh yeah, he's searching for a sister that he never found. The city's in shambles. He hears a woman screaming from a balcony. He rushes over to help her just as the whole thing caught fire. And then as he's coming towards the building, the mother throws this infant towards him, and he catches the infant girl just as the buildings that comes kind of crashing down in front of him, and he runs away with and like rescues her.
My God, why are you laughing at their tragedy here?
Because it's ridiculous.
What do you mean it's ridiculous?
Oh, it's just funny. Like just the way it's like, oh, here's my kid. I mean, I guess that could happen, but
yeah, because she's going to die, so she's like, here, take the kid. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So then
Michael hates children.
Yeah,
Michael hates children. Right.
That left scars, mister. Deep scars on both of them. The kind that stay with you for a lifetime. And then we cut over to, the next chapter in her life where we see her. Ivan took care of her like she was his long lost sister. So now she's raised in the Soviet state. She excels in school. She's learning martial arts. She's wait a minute, hold on. Oh, she met Alexei. Yeah, so she was training and she met Alexei, and then they got hitched, which means married. And then of course, as one does, this guy takes pilots a jet out into space.
Well, he was part of the Russian. They were training in the Russian military and everything, and like he was training to be an astronaut or a cosmonaut, I should say.
Yeah, cosmonaut. Right. Did you know each country has a different word for their like space travelers? Like the Chinese one is like something different. It's like Argonaut or something. Yeah, like, they're all different.
Yeah, how about that?
Anyway, back to the story. Okay. Hello?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay. I mesmerized you. Anyway.
I was just amazed by your space trivia.
Yeah. Learn something new every day when you're at work, reading stuff not related to work. Okay. So yeah, I guess, so they wanted to hold Alexei up and train him somewhere, so they basically pretended that his rocket crashed and he died.
Yes.
Because they wanted him to be trained. They wanted him to become the Russian version or the Soviet version of Captain America, Red Guardian.
Yeah.
So
Red Guardian.
Yeah. So they told Natasha that he died. She believed it. She's all distraught. And so then they gave her some heavy spy training and a code name, the Black Widow. So this is where she becomes Black Widow.
Yeah, and again, that bottom panel, not so good.
Not so great. Not so great, yep.
So, Michael, in the movie, did they do this kind of stuff in the movie?
Well,
backstory?
I can tell you in the movie, Red Guardian is her adopted father, but I don't want to spoil it.
Okay, so in the movie, the Red Guardian is kind of like the Ivan Petrovich character here.
Yes.
Not Alexei, her dead husband.
Right.
Okay.
Yes. Hope I have that right. Anyway. So then he's just about wrapping up this part of the origin, but then they cut back to the action scene of Black Widow at her apartment, and she's throwing one of the SHIELD agents out the window and like jumping down and shooting two other ones with her wrist blasters.
But Michael, we have to talk about this writing here. When she jumps through the window, knocks the one guy down.
Yes.
We see it from up above. So we see some SHIELD agents on the roof, and she's coming out the window, her back's to us, and we're seeing her from up above, and she's knocking people out. And her thought balloons. I heard others scrambling about on the roof while I was inside. Must twist as I fall to fire at them. And then the next panel, she's twisting to fire at them. It's like, come on, man.
Yeah. Whatever possessed editors or writers to think that that's what we wanted or needed, right? Like, come on.
That's what the art is for.
Exactly.
But that's what Machio does this entire time.
Mm-hmm. So then she's getting fired at by this ship in the sky. Oh, look at that. She says it's an airship of some kind because we can't see it. Yeah.
Well, the panel before that, I've defeated them, but I'm no closer to learning why someone's firing from the sky.
Right.
I think the art on this page is really good, though. I think
this would be so much better if the dialogue was better and like the thought balloons. You know, it'd just be like a straight ahead action story, but it could be so much better. But anyway, so then she's like, oh, concussion, too much, can't stay conscious, can't. And then and then the narration, the Black Widow plunges helplessly downward, trailed by fragments of the crumbling cornice. So we see her falling over this Pérez-esque cityscape. Awesome. I love it, the way he draws buildings. So he's falling, and then again, like
she's falling. Yeah, she's falling.
I was hoping you'd get some backstory because all the chapters are drawn by George Pérez except this one.
Yeah, I think it was just, a scheduling thing, maybe. I don't know.
Well, the fact that this was inventory.
Oh, yeah, it was an inventory. Yeah, that's right.
So there must be some explanation. I don't know what it is, but I'm sure you can find out somewhere. But basically, so now it continues with the splash page of her falling, but now it's drawn by Bob Layton. And the art's fine, I think.
I think the art in the second half is way better than the first half.
Really?
Consistent panel to panel. It's way better. And like this first shot of her is great. Falling.
Yeah, like nothing against Bob Layton. I just don't like him as much as Pérez. But this is really good art.
I agree. Overall, I like Pérez better. But in this issue, Layton's better than Pérez.
You could argue that, yeah.
Because different inkers as well. Luke McDonald's the inker here. So.
Right. His name will come up later. You'll find out why. Anyway.
Okay.
So she's falling, twists around, and somehow she twists her body. I guess she's like breaking through this thing. But there's a water tower. She smashes.
Yeah, she shoots it with her, laser thing.
Yeah, bratch.
Yeah.
And then she creates a hole in the water tower and then lands in the water tower. Good thinking.
Yeah.
So then she's like,
that would still have killed her though from that height.
Yeah, she'd be dead. Yeah.
She'd still be dead.
Yeah. Then she's like, I'm going back to that penthouse to get some answers. So then she goes back and there's a SHIELD agent laying there and she grabs him. She's like, I want to know everything about your mission here. Everything now. But then it cuts back to Nick Fury relating her origin, right? Yeah. So then he starts flashing back to actual, published stories by Marvel. And we see her first appearance in an Iron Man comic where she's just dressed in like a green dress with like a, like a veil over her face and like a brown fur coat. So basically she had no costume in her first appearance. She was just like a spy.
Yeah, she was a spy. And by the way, I don't know if we said this. The reason why Nick Fury's so mad that they want to hire Black Widow is he's saying that there's a conflict of interest with this case, that she should not be on this case. And so the other people around the table, he's explaining her background to them so they can understand why that she has this conflict of interest. So again, that's fine. Like we always say about how you do exposition. Long as one character is explaining it to other characters, it's fine. You can't have them explaining it to the reader just to explain it to the reader. So the way they're doing this is fine. But all right.
Right. So then, through further adventures, she hooks up with Hawkeye, who used to be a bad guy.
That's right. They just Fury's just keeping score of who she bangs. That's basically her history here.
And then, and then he's like, she was dragged back to Russia and told she better start serving the state again, or else her parents were going to be tortured. And then there's a little note at the bottom. Natasha's parents survived the Stalingrad siege and were kept from their daughter while the Soviet state raised her.
Yeah, so her mom threw her off that balcony she still survived. I find that hard to believe, which is why they had to put that note in there, because no one would believe it after they saw that.
I don't know why, like they spell this, but Nick Fury says naturally, but they spell it naturally. Natcher.
Yeah, they're trying to give him his little colloquialisms and his voice. Macho goes way over the top with it.
Maybe it's something Stan Lee did. I don't know.
This is how Fury, again, Michael, if you paid attention when we read Nick Fury and his Howling Commandos, which I guess you didn't really do. But yeah, he has a way of talking. It's folksy and, leaving off the G's and stuff. But Macho goes a little overboard. But
Right. So then he's like, and this time the commies were going to make her live up to her name. So they gave her an official, Black Widow costume and sent her back to the States.
And I don't know this makes it official. Describe her costume here, Michael, because it
is pretty cool, actually. I like it. It's
you think?
Yeah, I like it. It's kind of like Scarlet Witch's costume, except it's blue and black, I guess. So it's like black boots, black gloves, yellow wrist blasters, and then this is where it gets sexy. Then she has a blue, what is that called? Like around her torso, whatever that is. Like, it's just whatever. But
it's like a one-piece swimsuit kind of bustier combination.
Yes, bustier. And then she has blue fishnet stockings on her legs and her arms and upper chest. And then she has a blue cape, and she has a little blue bee, the letter B, on her cape at the front, like connecting the two parts together.
I didn't even notice that.
Yeah. And then she has a blue mask, like Marvel Girl, like a little pointed domino mask. It's awesome.
That's right, like Marvel. So that B, it's really a B. It just stands for black.
I guess so. Isn't that funny?
You think it'd be the little Black Widow logo, like that little symbol on the back of the spider, that thing. But
So then, they fight, and then she teams up with Swordsman and what's that guy's name? Is it Power Man? I think it's Power Man, who ends up later becoming Giant Man or Goliath or something. I don't know. So anyway, he teams up with them, but then she decides to betray her teammates and join the Avengers and fight them. Right. So that's when she becomes a good guy. Then later on, she runs into a guy called the Red Guardian, a Rusky version of Captain America. Like I was telling you before in Chapter 1, who also happened to be her long-lost hubby, Alexei.
But then Alexei dies saving them. Like he dies in front of a gunshot. Boom.
Right. And then it says, any last thoughts she had of going commie again died with Alexei. Everybody was happy to know that. So then we see her waking up in bed with the Avengers all around her, smiling. And then she's hanging out with Nick Fury and Dum Dum Dugan, and then she's hanging out with Giant Man or Goliath.
Well, she's breaking up with him.
I also love Nick Fury's narration. She also kissed off Hawkeye, who by that time had a new identity as Goliath or something. I love that. And then not strictly on her own. Oh, wait a minute. Am I reading this out of order? This is confusing as hell.
No, you're good.
Okay. To live the jet set life and Riley and put everything in her past behind her.
Life of Riley.
Huh?
Do you know Life of Riley? Do you understand that reference, Michael?
No, I don't. What is it?
It's it's an old. Actually, it started as a radio show, and then it became a TV show. But it's Life of Riley, taking it easy, enjoying the good life, just relaxing. Yeah.
The Black Widow was now just Natasha Romanoff, glamour pants.
Glamour Pants. That should be your name. That should be your spy name, Glamour Pants.
So then we see another gratuitous shot of her partially naked, pulling the costume over her breasts, so we see bottom.
It's a good shot.
Yeah,
it's a good shot.
And we see her with her new costume, which is I guess you said Emma Peel inspired one, black with like yellow wrist blasters, yellow belt, long red hair.
He was just saying she was getting tired of the old jet setting, and she wanted to be a spy again. So she designed a new costume and tested herself against Spider-Man, like I was saying before. Yeah?
Right. She tangles with Spider-Man to test out her powers. And then she teams up with Daredevil. And like you said, they had many adventures together for 20 issues. They also became romantic partners.
That's right. All Nick Fury is doing is just keeping track of who she's sleeping with. That's all he's doing. Yeah.
But then they break up, and then she separated, and she went to L.A., but then she joined the Champions. Angel, Ghost Rider, Hercules, and Iceman.
And she got to know Mr. Muscles himself, Hercules.
No, didn't we read Champions? Yes, we did.
That's what I said at the beginning. We did a little one issue of Champions.
That's right. Okay.
Man, Michael, pay attention to the show, Michael.
I know. I was doing something else. Anyway, I was doing another podcast at the same time. Anyway. So then we cut back to the present. She's just wrapping up the origin. And lo and behold, the two plots come together because now Black Widow walks into the room and she just finished up mopping the floor with those S.H.I.E.L.D. agents, right? And she's pissed because she's like, you sent a squad of S.H.I.E.L.D. goons over to my penthouse to harass me. The one I questioned wouldn't tell me why, so you tell me. Honest, Widow, I didn't give no order to... And then the other guy, what's his name, is like... what are you talking about? Oh, I'm reading this out of order, see?
Yeah, the page design is real fucked up here.
Right.
Like, we get one panel across the top, and Black Widow is, her whole figure is in the middle of the page. So her head and upper torso are like in that top panel. And it's a great shot of Black Widow. I love that drawing of Black Widow.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah.
But then we have two vertical panels on the left, two vertical panels on the right, and then another panel in the middle on the bottom. And I also read, I still don't know how to read this. I guess.
Well, it goes, the next one's the one below it, because the guy's like, I didn't give the order to, and then the other guy cuts him off, but I did, Nick. So this guy gave the order in order to test out her fighting skills, right?
Yeah, the whole thing with the S.H.I.E.L.D. agents destroying her penthouse, trying to murder her was just a test.
And then, this is where it gets really confusing, because then the next panel skips over the middle two, jumps up to the right. It's tricky. Right. And then it's like, what are you talking about, Fury? What mission? What personal stake? What's going on? Show her the photograph, Nick. Sam, I don't want to involve her. Show her the photograph! All right. So then he's like, remember, Natasha, this wasn't my idea. Anyway, we think the man in this photo may have been kidnapped or worse, defected to the Soviets. His name is Ivan Petrovich. And it's, the guy from earlier in the story. Which is the guy who rescued her, right?
Yeah, when she was a little girl, yeah.
Right, so her father figure.
Yep.
And then it says, to be continued next issue Back in the USSR.
Yeah, there you go. But again, I love that Black Widow, though, on this page.
Yeah, it's a good shot. You're right, his anatomy definitely is better.
Yeah. All right, so now after that, we get like some Jungle Book thing. Did you read this? I did not read this, but...
No. I looked at it. Now, here's the thing. Gil Kane is one of my favorite artists, but P. Craig Russell's inks do not mesh well with his pencils at all.
Yeah, I hear you.
It just looks really ugly, but you can see the Gil Kane pencils underneath.
Yeah.
But I had no desire to read this.
Yeah, I did not read it either. I think this was another inventory thing they had lying around.
Right.
They were doing a Jungle Book thing.
It is based on a story by Rudyard Kipling.
The Jungle Book.
Right.
Yeah. But, you've never read the Jungle Book? Or?
Actually, no, I haven't. Have you?
Oh, I've never read it, but when I was a kid, there was a really famous cartoon here in the United States, The Jungle Book. Yeah.
Of course, yeah.
Did you get that in Canada?
Oh, yeah, of course. A million times.
All right. I'm not sure what you Canadians are doing up there.
Yeah.
Never know.
Wait, should we talk about the portfolio at the end?
Brent Anderson portfolio.
Yeah, this is actually pretty good, I think.
A series of one-page, just pinups of various characters. What do we know Brent Anderson? I know Brent Anderson from the first X-Men graphic novel, God Loves, Man Kills, right?
Yes, but now he's gone on to become even more famous for doing a comic called Astro City.
I find that hard to believe.
It's been going for like 20 years now, so yeah.
The LCS hockey show has been going on for 15 years. That doesn't mean anyone knows what the fuck we're doing.
Doesn't mean anything. That's true.
Yeah, it doesn't mean anything. All right, but anyway, Brent Anderson portfolio. The first one's The Thing. I really like that. A good shot of The Thing with some holding up a brick wall and bricks falling around him. I really like that shot.
Yep.
It's Captain America, not so much.
Not so good.
Yeah, not so good. He's just holding up his shield, and it's really not dynamic at all. Just really stiff and flat.
Right.
But the Wolverine, it's pretty good. But
I think it's solid.
The mouth is a little questionable, but I don't know. It's all right. It's fine. Next, we have Shang-Chi, Master of Kung Fu, and we did one of his books. Hey, Michael, there's a Shang-Chi movie coming out soon.
Yes, I know.
You excited about that?
Yeah. I mean, as excited as I am about any Marvel movie, it's pretty,
hey, Michael, I just saw the trailer for The Eternals. What a load of garbage that looks like, huh?
I did not watch the new one because the first one left me so underwhelmed, but I will watch it.
Good. I'll say this, Angelina Jolie looking good, but everything else, holy hell. Just terrible. Just terrible.
Yikes. Not good.
Next up, we got Moon Knight, and he's jumping off a building, and he's throwing some of his little moon daggers.
That is my favorite.
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
And then that's it. Now we got Shooter's page, a Jim Shooter with the letter about Al Milgram and what a great guy he is. Mm-hmm. And then we get one final pin up here of, I guess, a Jungle Book thing with an elephant and a tiger. And
yeah, I think that's the back cover.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, because there was no ads in these books, so that was the
that's
cover,
right.
Yeah.
Do you have any idea who the artist would be here?
Well, I think it's P. Craig Russell. Yeah, it says at the bottom.
Oh, yeah, PCR.
Yeah.
So P. Craig Russell drew it. All right. There you go. Marvel Fanfare issue 10. Yeah, this story, the writing is awful. Like the internal monologues and stuff. I actually like the setup. I like the premise. Like of her having to go and then track down her father figure. That's a good story, right? Good internal conflict, setting up some stuff there. Now, I don't know. I guess we needed the testing of her with the SHIELD agents. Provides action scenes. So, whatever. It's a comic book. You need to shoehorn in some fights. So that's good. The exposition I thought was, they did it all right. It was fine. Because again, I didn't know any of this.
Right.
About Black Widow, and I'm sure a lot of people in '83 didn't know all this about Black Widow, so it was fine. It was fun to learn all that. But again, the art here by Pérez, not his best work. Actually, I think it's the worst work I've ever seen him do.
Yeah, it's like early. It's around like that Justice League we read. It's probably around that time.
But that Justice League was so good.
It's better than this, yeah.
But I think Giordano was the anchor there, right? I'm
probably.
Pretty sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, this was not so good. So yeah, the creative team, not so good. I like the Bob Layton stuff. I thought actually, because again, I've mentioned this before on the show. When I think of like a scale of 1 to 10, I think Layton's like middle of the road. He's perfectly fine, but I don't get excited when I see Bob Layton's drawing something. But I actually really liked a lot of the stuff he did here. So, but overall, and again, Black Widow, again, it's 1983, so it's very dated, but she's supposed to be the best spy in the world. The best spy in the world. So what does Nick Fury talk about when he's given the background of Black Widow and who she is? All the dudes she slept with. That's all he talks about. Not any of the missions she did, none of her accomplishments as a spy. Just the fact that she's bedded Daredevil, Hercules, Hawkeye, who else? Alexei, and everyone she slept with, but none of her accomplishments as a spy. So that's a little weird. Yeah, I don't know. I can't go higher than like a 4, I think.
Yeah. I mean, I think I like the art more than you, like even the Pérez art, but I could maybe go 5, but I'm definitely not going to read more. Like, I flipped through the other issues just to look at the art, but I am not excited about the story, so I'm not going to read it.
Yeah, it seems, I flipped through the story as well, and it seems like it goes off the tracks pretty, I don't know, gets pretty crazy. And although, Michael, the fourth issue of this story, Marvel Fanfare 13, the cover is drawn by Art Adams.
I noticed that, and in my opinion, I think I now know where Todd McFarlane got the idea for the famous Wolverine Hulk cover, where Hulk is reflected in Wolverine's claws.
Well, yeah. What year was that?
That was 86, so it's 3 years after this.
That's right. Yeah, because the Todd McFarlane cover, the only figure you see on the front is a real close-up of a character named the Snapdragon. It's this lady, a very bosomy lady with a metal face mask.
Right.
And reflected in the face mask, you see Black Widow running at her. And then also in the tip of Snapdragon's baton that she has, you can see Black Widow's face. Right. Reflected in that.
So I'm going to say this is where McFarlane got the idea, for sure. And it was also used again by Eric Larson and probably used again by Rob Liefeld and all those guys. But
yeah.
Image, I'm telling you, Art Adams is the godfather of Image. No doubt about it. But anyway, I don't know if it's a good thing, but...
we haven't done an issue with Art Adams yet.
Wait a minute, didn't we?
No. I know our buddy Kevin Jank wants to do an issue of Long Shot, so maybe we'll just wait to do that.
Interesting, because I was going to pick one, but I didn't. But sure, that sounds fun.
So, all right, so there you go, Black Widow. I wouldn't bother reading this.
I would only read it for the... I mean, it does have a little bit of fun appeal to it, but it's definitely not a good story.
Yeah, I guess it got reprinted in a trade paperback called Web of Intrigue.
Well, yeah, because at this time, this was the only real solo stories would have been the... what was that series that got Amazing Adventures and this, right? For years, this is all there was, so...
And I guess there's also a Bizarre Adventures. Do you remember this book, Bizarre Adventures? It was a black and white magazine Marvel would put out.
Yes, I do remember that.
There's a Black Widow story in there drawn by the guy who did the Master of Kung Fu that we read.
Paul Gulacy?
Yes.
Paul
Gulacy. But it was all black and white, and it's very interesting art. And he patterned all the characters after movie actors. And so
Really?
There's basically Humphrey Bogart's in the end of it. And then, but he based Black Widow on Victoria Principal. Do you remember her from Dallas?
Yes, yes.
She is very foxy. And he based her on art.
Well, guess what? There's also a story in that issue drawn by Michael Golden, so I will definitely be digging that up.
Yeah, I think it's Bizarre Adventures, I don't know what issue, 25 maybe?
I just had it up. Yep, 25.
Look at that. Well, I'm pretty smart. I can remember things. All right,
Cool.
So next week, Michael, it's your pick.
Well, I decided to continue the theme of Luke McDonnell.
Oh, that's right. You said his name would come up later.
That's right. See, it all ties together. And I'm also continuing the theme of tying into current superhero movies. And that's
Suicide Squad?
That's why we're going to review Suicide Squad. Woo! Number 17.
Wow, they were actually around in the 80s? I thought they were a 90s thing.
Late 80s. I think they started in 86 or 87, yep.
Wow.
So we're going to do Suicide Squad number 17 for no good reason other than that I have never read it, but I have read the first 16. So
okay.
Yep.
So this Luke Donald guy, he was the inker here, but he's the artist there?
He's the main artist, the penciler, yes. And this is what I know him from, Suicide Squad. And it's written by John Ostrander, who I've met before, who also went on to write Hawkworld, and that's it. A bunch of Valiant comics as well.
He didn't do any Superman or anything?
I don't think so, no.
Maybe I'm...
Why, you familiar with his name?
Yeah, that name's very familiar to me.
I don't think he did Superman, nope.
Did he do... what was that Valiant book? Solar?
Yes, I believe he did, yep.
Okay.
He did a bunch of Valiant, so...
All right, so that's Suicide Squad, issue 17, and I guess we'll talk about the movie then next week when we do that.
Sure, all right, can't wait. All right, so be sure to join us every week as we review a different Bronze Age comic. 1 week I pick, 1 week Mike Dell picks. You can find our episodes of Flea Market Fantasy on Stitcher, Spotify, or Apple Podcasts under Comic Book Syndicate. Also on the Comic Book Syndicate website, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. There you go. So, Until next week, disperse!